So there's another story I want to deep dive into, and it's a one pager that you guys did. And let me bring it up here. So it's a story called Backdoor to Paradise.
Oh,
So what led to the creation of this fun, disturbed one pager that you did right here?
oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. So Doug Wood is this awesome guy who's making comics, and he's just full on indie making comics, and he is there and you can talk to him. His last project was Project Big Hype. He's shipping Ultramax today. Like, my copy is in the mail. He's making comics and he's making moves, and he just formed the Phoenix Collective, and he's such a great guy. I started talking to him online, and it's like, and asking for tips. All right, so what are we, anyone that you can, anyone I should be talking to about blah, 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 and just trying to be more part of the indie community. He invited us into the comicjam.com, and the comicjam.com is amazing. Casey Allen, Kevin Lintz, Summer Steinhardt, Alex Z. I don't remember his last name, but Casey Allen is really the guy. He's got the Voodoo Child Kickstarter going right now with Pete Woods. They're all guys making indie comics, all people making indie comics. And every week, the members of the Comic Jam, is a big group of people, put out prompts. And then we all vote, one wins, and every week you write a script if you want to. So as a writer, this week they just announced the prompt is murder mystery. So by Sunday, I got to hand in a one-page comic script for murder mystery, and it can be anything I want to do with that, right? It has to be one page, and I got to tell you, learning how to write a one-page comic was its own thing, because you don't have the page flip reveal, right? You keep all your secrets on even number pages. So if you can't do that, how do you surprise people? Because they're going to see everything right away. So the key is to write it so that what they see doesn't matter to them until they've read the last line. And that's what I figured out. So he got James and I into the Comic Jam. We met so many awesome people. A bunch of them are in this anthology. I mean, just like the creme de la creme of the indie comic community. The week that came out, so this is weird, that week the prompt was comics in rhyme. I am not a big poetry guy. I love it, but it's not something, it's one of the things I don't write very often. I had a published poem. Is that how you say that? I had a poem published on The Organic Poet, and that was odd because I don't normally do it. A week before this prompt came out, the line popped into my head. Satan called me to your doorstep in the ginger dawn to read the hobo hieroglyphs. And I didn't know what to do with it after that. So I'd had it open on the computer, and I kept around and throwing another line here. And then it got worse with every line I added. The prompt comes out, comics in rhyme, and the whole thing comes to me, the poem. And I realized I wanted to mix in the rhymes. I wanted the dialogue to be part of the rhymes, so that, and what I wanted to do was make a sequel to Milton's Paradise Lost, like totally pretentious, a one-page comic answer to Milton's opus. Because I'm a totally
that's a bold
dude.
That's a bold move, Cotton. See how this plays out.
I'm totally humble like that, right? And I also wanted it to be like the most metal pro Jesus thing ever. Like, I wanted these really fucked up demons, and there's Jesus in the middle of it.
Well, James caught that perfectly, because again, and looking at the artwork on this, it's just, dude, again, this strip, this one page right here is just, it's like watching a horror movie on one page. It's just very, very creepy.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Dude, this one was my favorite. We've only done a couple, but this was the first one we did, and it's a real favorite of mine because it's so new. What's cool, I mean, the artists out there, the comic artists, know that this stuff takes so long to do, and to get this page out, have it out there, and have people look at it, and have it be a contained story is so cool. I love doing all the big long storylines too, but it's so cool to be able to just do that one panel and have people appreciate it and see it and get all that story out.
I think this is a fantastic time for us to talk about your anthology, Containment Breach. So could you just give us a little bit about how that idea kind of came together and what you were trying to do and giving back to the writing community that's embraced you both?
That's huge for us. The indie comics community is so open and so cool. We wanted to do something where we could all signal boost, and we're not at a place where we can. We're doing this for love, right? But if we can signal boost, and that's really what it was about. So last March, I'm joking around with Matt Queen on Twitter. I always forget if it's at Matt J Queen or at Matt R Queen, but try both. The one that's an artist, that's who I'm talking about. Yeah. The other one's a pornographer. Don't say that. Wait a minute, it's the same guy.
Both are artists in their own right.
He complimented somebody's art. She said it was the first portrait she'd ever done. He said, "That's amazing. The first portrait I ever did looked like a chewed up piece of bubble gum fighting pencil shavings." And I jumped right in and I said, "Dude, you got to draw that now." 5 minutes later, he's drawn it and it's awesome. It's really cool. And so I said, "Well, dude, now you got to write a comic about him. Now you got to draw a comic about him." So I felt bad. So I then wrote a 4 or 6 panel, I don't remember, comic right into Twitter. Like I just typed the panels right into Twitter. Here's your story, little 4-panel thing, right? Well, he never saw it because he was already off to the races. He was writing a 6-page noir about a piece of gumshoe detective trying to find the missing husband of a pencil. And he just went with it.
Amazing.
Then he sees later, he puts this up and I'm like, what? And I said, and of course, I'm a dick. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't do mine, right? Well, then, I see your 6-page noir epic, and I raise you my 4-panel idiocy. So he did that. And I said to him, I said, "Matt, how quick do we think we could put an anthology together? Everyone's doing these anthologies. Everyone needs a way to exercise these demons right now. Let's do an anthology about quarantines." And I actually spoke to him on the phone. There's rare moments on Twitter where you actually talk to a human being at some point. And we had a couple other people that we were talking to. Peter Paul Smith, who's at Purple Smurf 13, John Jack, John Batusi Jack, and old buddy of mine, one of my best friends, Michael Flanagan. And I said, "Guys, let's do this. Let's put it together." And I mean, with not knowing our asses from our elbows, we put the zine together, and that was really the vibe of it. We went for a zine. There's comics, there's essay I wrote in there, there's different stuff, just stuff that was happening during quarantine. James, a bunch of pinups from James, different Cap and COVID, his terrifying clown disease character. Right, we put a bunch of stuff in there so that you could get a real experience. It's 50 pages for $2.99 on Comixology, right? But we didn't know. Well, James had to lay out the entire thing. He laid out the entire magazine. That was a learning curve, right? Getting all the work together. But we decided we wanted to play. We wanted this to be fun. So we came up with Quarantine Chronicles. Everyone's story had to somehow involve a quarantine. And not this quarantine, just the concept of quarantine, right? And then each team came up with a prompt. So we came up with Virus at the Zoo, and we gave that to Mike and John. And then Peter and Matt came up with, Matt wrote us like 2 paragraphs. He's like, and at the end he was like, "Or take whatever you want." And I had been very specific about tiny prompts. So I just took I lifted a sentence out of it. It was a high profile bomb placement mission that has to be aborted because of quarantine. It's the shortest version I can give you. And then Mike and John gave them Better to Sleep Alone. And so now we had the umbrella quarantine concept. And then you somehow had to work in, how much was up to you, the prompt you were given by another team. So nothing was, no one was pulling a story out of a drawer that they'd written years ago, right? And that's what we did. And we all, let's see if we can create it like Matt and I did really quick online. And we did it. And then Comixology, we had no idea that it was a big deal to be accepted by Comixology. What was the deal with that, James? What happened there? Because we were like ready to roll.
So yeah, not being comic, I was like, what's Comixology? So he showed me what it was. And we, neither of us, both of us being like creative buffoons, neither of us did our research. So we're like, oh yeah, we'll get it up on Comixology. So we got this whole thing together, and we told everyone, oh yeah, we'll get it up on Comixology. And then we actually the day that I submitted it, I did like a Google search to see, all right, how long is this going to take? 2 days, 3 days? And I started looking around on Google, and they're like, oh, this process can take up to like 6 months. And we were like, I was like, oh my God, we told all these guys that we were going to be right up there and stuff. So we got lucky, like with my background, I've done print work and stuff. So I kind of was able to overcome a lot of the hoops or kind of problems that I think an amateur comics person might come up with. I kind of knew all that stuff going in, so I was able to put the layout together well. So it ended up only taking about 2 weeks, but that's how we ended up on Comixology, and we also put it out on a thing called Gumroad.
So wrapping it up real quick, The Hidden Truth popped this other story back in my head. The story was called Delphine. It already had these Greek themes in the background, but I had almost a Lovecraft concept going. So we're doing a new mythology that has the hallmarks of a classic mythology. So I kind of put the two together.
Nice.
And this is why I told you James is now sending me creepy pictures of rats.
It comes full circle.
Delphine is our story.
Okay.
Oh.
All right, so this is one of the panels that I happen to have finished.
That's
our girl
fantastic.
Having some trouble. Beyond that,
Yo, the scratches? Like,
we can't say anymore, but this gives you a feeling of how corrupt this story is.
I'm low-key mad that that's how you guys are leaving us. Like, here's this. Okay, bye. Like,
Yeah, essentially.
oh.
So here's the issue.
For you, Lowell. That's it.
Buy the book.
We opened this up. This is a rated R book. The first one was, I told all the creators that here's the line. Don't go past this line. This is,
And then we went right past it.
right. But yeah, but they were welcome. Well, it turns out reading all the stories in the book, everyone was in a much more positive mind frame, apparently, than I am. And then James is. This is going to be like the dark abyss pit of the book. The rest of the stories are happy and fun. And then just Delphine's going to come in and fuck up your whole day. And I feel bad for whoever follows us who's going to be like, hey, look at our happy story. And I'm going to be like, sorry, guys.
I got to show the rat. This is an early edition of the rat.
Wow.
That's the first time I drew the rat.
I love that that's a picture that you pulled off your wall. Like, can we just